Tatum along the baseline, unable to get the shot off. Pritchard into the lane. Comes up on the other side for two.
Man, what a strong take by Payton Pritchard.
Episode 20 of the Payton Pritchard Podcast, starring myself, Kyle, Reid, and Jake. Jake is the guy that edits shit. Reid is the guy that goes in depth. Kyle is the guy that doesn't really do anything, but we love him. And I'm just here sharing my shitty ass opinions. Let's get it. What's up, boys?
Podcast.
How we doing, guys? Happy New Year's 2021.
First episode of the new year. Let's start off good. I haven't even smoked today, and I'm not even drinking anything right now. So you guys got me 100% sober right now. This is a rare occurrence.
This is the first,
and that is not a part of my New Year's resolution either. I'm indulging in both of those things right after this shit's over.
So, guys, we got a jam-packed episode. Gotta talk about the recap of the Detroit Pistons series and the Toronto Raptors series, and then we're gonna talk about Payton Pritchard. But first off, let's just start before we get too far ahead of ourselves. That Detroit series, kind of a up and down, you could say. Sunday night they should have won that game, and they obviously choked it away. But they came back and won the second game in that series. Reid, what was your biggest takeaway, you think, from those two games? Obviously, kind of two different outcomes.
I think it was a chance for our two young guys in Brown and Tatum to kind of show they can lead a pack when they're facing adversity. This is kind of a common theme for them in the Brad Stevens era, is they play down to their competition sometimes, or they play up to the good ones. I think that first one was kind of flukish, but we kind of choked it at the end. You don't score in the last 4 minutes and 15 seconds, I think it was. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Just poor decision making, poor rotations. But we came back and we topped it off the next game. So not too much to harp on. You can't dwell on the past.
I feel as though I'm just gonna hit those two games real quick. And I said this on IG. I just feel as though we're gonna go into every single game this year, regardless of the injury report, regardless if we're full strength. Like, we could literally lose every single game, or we could win every single game every night. If that makes sense to you guys, like, it's not even as much of like what Boston Celtics team is going to show up tonight. It's more or less like that, plus like what other team are we going to face tonight too? Because these NBA teams are like, whether they're resting their players, whether they're lying and saying they got COVID or they're close contacts just so they don't have to play, it's going to happen all year. And this year, the NBA is going to be a circus, in my opinion. And at the end of the day, the biggest clown's going to win. So Kyrie Irving in Brooklyn, they got a good shot. I just feel as though this year is going to be hectic in the regular season. And those two Detroit games are like point blank period. Like they got a squad over there in Detroit, which, yeah, they were 0-4 when we lost to them. I was not happy, but at the same time, they're still an NBA team. Like, there's going to be tons of losses like this year, and we're going to be here to talk about it. And sometimes, like, over the last couple of years of my fandom, I hate talking after a loss and stuff. This year, I kind of changed my outlook just because of the season is so messed up. And maybe I will like, branch off from the bubble, because I kind of started in the bubble. Like, a win is a win and a loss is a loss. Like, unless it's in the playoffs, it really doesn't matter. Like, the Celtics are a lock for a top 5 seed, in my opinion, and then we'll go from there. What's up, Kyle?
Yeah,
what do you think about the little Detroit games? Sorry.
Well, with the first game in Detroit, obviously we got kind of surprised. I think it was kind of a game where we didn't really expect them to play as hard as they did, and they just kind of went off. I think we kind of showed that second game how we were a much better team. I do want to say, though, I hate to, shit on your guy, Reid, but on a night where I feel like almost every Celtic looked good, the one guy that I feel like had a really rough night when everyone else did well was Tremont Waters. I feel like he had a really rough showing last night.
I'm not going to defend him too much. I've moved on to another young guard.
He's bandwagoning onto it. But real quick, this Detroit series, I don't want to say it was eye-opening, but I think, Corey, you kind of said it right. It's kind of like depends on the, on the game. I mean, with COVID, obviously the season is totally different than what it usually is. More so even they were playing on the back-to-back in Detroit. And, I mean, that happens multiple times in the schedule. I mean, how many times have you seen an NBA team play a back-to-back in the same city like that? I mean, that, like, never happened. So, I think, it was the first night. They had, I think, a rough game that Friday night. So, obviously a little sloppy. But that Detroit team, you got to just tip your hat off to them. Oh, was it on the – I couldn't remember.
It was away and away. Just away and away. That's all it was.
Yeah, but you're in the city, like, 2 times. Like, you're playing them back-to-back like that. But, no, I mean, I just think that Pistons team, they're a 1-16, but they didn't play like it. They were just like a bunch of dogs, really hustled after it. D Rose, I mean, I was looking, I was like, man, like D Rose can still play. To me, they didn't look like a 1-16. They didn't lay down. They kind of looked like, I'll say like the crappy version of the Miami Heat that you saw in the bubble. They were just like that. It was like dogs just hustle, and obviously we had a bad shooting night too. I think we shot like 26% from 3. So you shoot like that, you're not going to win, and to only lose by 3, I mean, it is what it is at that point.
Yeah, I think those 2 games kind of exemplified what's been wrong with this team so far. Is they come out of the gate slow, and much of that is due to the double center lineup. It's not working. Brad still wants to go to it. You can't play 2 guys who primarily play around the paint together and Tice and Thompson, especially in a league where the kind of that power forward positions kind of been non-existent of late.
It's just funny because I remember in the summertime, Kyle was big on trying to get Blake Griffin in Boston. And Kyle, I don't like that take you had this summer. And looking at Blake Griffin now, this guy is trash. Why would you want this guy in Boston anyways, Kyle?
Yeah, you're right. I don't know what I was thinking. I obviously was not sober like GRD is this episode.
I think you got into my little stash or something. No, honestly, I'm just a basketball fan at the end of the day. And I think Blake Griffin is just a guy similar to my take on Tristan Thompson. I feel like he's a guy that has a little bit left in the tank, but he hasn't shown it in the past couple of years because he's on a trash team. And I still think that he's going to be like one of the ring-chasing guys in the next couple of years, and he will contribute on a championship team one day. That's just my little take on Blake Griffin. But so what are we going to hit next, Jake?
So we'll talk about the Raptors. I mean, this was probably the bigger game.
You guys don't want to do your top 10?
No, we'll say that. We'll head on to the Raptors. So we'll move on to the Raptors right now. Obviously, that game was kind of like I guess you could say the premier game in this week. That's obviously a team we played in the playoffs. Tough battle with them, 7 games in that second round in the bubble. And we came out, and I said it on the playoff prediction, the Toronto Raptors would not make the playoffs. I kept them off, and everyone was telling me, you're crazy. Everyone commenting, oh, Jake's crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I mean, I feel like last night kind of proved that. I mean, you win by that much. Obviously, the final score doesn't show that because we put in the G League players, and obviously they kind of blew it a little bit. But speaking of those guys, I like what I saw from a lot of them, although we kind of started to choke that lead away. They were playing good basketball, I felt like, and it was a good experience for them. But the one thing I thought, like, biggest takeaway from that was, I don't know if you guys started on the broadcast, but Tatum you see he was very frustrated when he had to check back in. And I automatically thought of the moments with the big 3 and KG that happened to that team. And Big Baby and that whole group went in, and then KG got mad at him about it. Like that to me, I saw that and I was like, okay, I think he's starting to get that leadership role. We kind of talked about it last year. Is he really the leader on this team? And I think he's finally starting to take that step.
I think it's good. Actually, I'll just go real quick. But if you see something like that happen 2 years ago with someone like Kyrie Irving, then the internet kind of freaks out about it. But it's good that you see. I think it's different with Tatum. You kind of see him, like you said, growing into that leader. But yeah, I do think that he's starting to have more of a presence that there was Corey saying that I didn't really have so much, or he wanted to develop.
Right. And the one thing I want to touch on that too, Rick, that's a good point, because 2 years ago we would have crapped on Kyrie for that. And I think the difference between him and Kyrie is that Kyrie would have came out to the media after the game and said something bad about it, or he would have done something much worse. Tatum kind of just you could just see he was frustrated, didn't really say too much, and then after the game praised the team. And didn't really talk about it. I mean, we're talking about when we started on the broadcast, but it wasn't brought up by the media at all. And, he wasn't talking bad about the team. I mean, how many times did Kyrie do that? So I think that's the big difference with that.
I'm going to share my take on that. I feel as though that's not even a basketball thing. That's not even a leadership thing. That's literally it goes to show you how you're raised. And I feel like Jayson Tatum was raised the right way. And I'm not even going to comment on Kyrie Irving. Anyways, so Sunday night, the Celtics finished up their series with Detroit. They won that in a last possession, blah, blah, blah. And then they had to go right back from Detroit to Florida to Tampa for the Monday night game. So this for me was a big test. I was fully expecting the Celtics to come out flat, and they did. They trailed by as many as 12 or 13 in the beginning of the game, and then they busted out a crazy lead at halftime, and then they just kept the foot on the gas, which is kind of like unusual for them. Anyways, I was really happy with that. I was happy with a lot of the bench players last night. The team was short. Marcus Smart sat, Tristan Thompson sat, I think.
No, Teague did.
Teague sat. Excuse me. I was seeing them on the bench acting up.
Yeah.
Turnover Teague was sitting. The Boston Celtics fans are already getting up in arms about Jeff Teague, and I told you guys. And before the season, I also told you guys about 8 Mile, a.k.a. Payton Pritchard, and I told you he was going to steal everybody's heart in Boston. If we were in Boston right now, the number 1 jersey in the stands would not be a number 0, Jayson Tatum. It would not be a number 7. It would definitely be a number 11, Kyrie Irving, with the tape over it with the Pritchard on the back. 1,000,000% would be the number 1 jersey in the Garden right now.
I already made one of those.
Yep, I have one of my Kyrie jerseys. I think it's like the gray jersey that was like one of the third jerseys or some shit when he was here. I still have the fucking tag on that thing, so I'm hoping I don't know. I want to like get it really made like with Pritchard's last name. I don't know. We'll see. Dude, like the guy's gonna be a baller, bro. Like I've been talking about him off the pod with a bunch of my friends and stuff, and just like. You could just tell so early that this guy is going to have such a long career in the NBA. And, like, I'm not saying the dude's like a first ballot Hall of Famer by no means, but to get picked in the 20s and to contribute in your first 10 NBA games already, that's crazy, bro. What pick was Pritchard?
26, I believe.
27.
Okay. Dude, it's remarkable, and I really like it. Like, there's been teams the last like 10 years that have had like draft picks in the 20s and their fan base gets to celebrate it. Right now, Boston is celebrating Pritchard, and I'm loving it.
Jake was very anti-rookie coming into the draft, and now look at him. Look at us now.
Yep. Well, I mean, I will say this though, is that it's nice to see Danny Ainge hit on a guy like that. I mean, how many times I said last episode? How many times has he missed on that? That was the biggest caveat with that.
Well,
yeah, in their current lottery pick, Aaron Nesmith hasn't really shown too much yet, but I mean,
let's focus on Pritchard.
Time.
Pritchard is good at basketball. Very good.
Enough. Calm down.
Scal said it last night. I think the last Celtics rookie to get 20 and 8 in a game was Antoine Walker in like 97. I mean, the fact that this kid got 23 and 8 last night, and what game was it for him? Like 8, 9? I mean, the kid's just unbelievable. I mean,
how does Jared Sullinger not get 20 and 8?
8 assists.
Well, 20 and 8 could be 20 points and 8 rebounds too, dog. You just said 20 and 8. I don't know.
I don't think we'll
8 turnovers.
8.
Jeff Teague had 8 turnovers on the night. No, I'm just, no, but let's talk about the Toronto Raptors. Those guys are struggling, and if you ask me, I think the Celtics blew them out of their own gym last night, and obviously they came back a little bit. They're a championship team, but they're definitely missing something, whether it be home cooking or something. I don't know what it is, but the Toronto Raptors are like a shell of themselves. They are not the team that took us to 7 games last year. That's all I'm saying. But we out here.
I think that's because the two guys that gave us the most problems last year in the series were their bigs, and Gasol and Ibaka. Now they're both gone, and you swap them with Aaron Baines and Alex Len, and it's just
you can't talk trash though. Like before the season, everybody and their mother thought Baines was like one of the best acquisitions of the offseason. I don't even know what contract he got over there, but after that season last year in Phoenix, like you got to at least bow down to the guy a little bit. But
I think Kyle. Sorry, I want to say, Kyle, I want to correct you on your stat about Antoine Walker and Pritchard. I'll do you one better. Sean Grandy's tweet last night. Celtics with 23 points and 8 assists in the first half of the rookie season was Payton Pritchard yesterday, and who was the other one? Guess.
Larry Bird. I was looking for that stat.
Larry Bird, yeah. I'll do you one better there. So, is he Larry Bird?
I think Payton Pritchard is in his own category. He's above Larry Bird.
White guy in the NBA right now?
I mean,
Is he the only white boy on the Celtics though?
I think so.
I think he is.
I mean, do you consider Tatum white? I don't know.
No, he's light skinned.
Nah.
No, I
Carson
think
Edwards
he is.
is not white.
No, I think he is.
Yep.
That's why they give him the
Brad
nickname
Stevens.
8 Mile. He's like the
Brad Stevens.
Eminem on the Celtics right now.
Yeah,
That's what they were giving him. I love that nickname. That's such a funny nickname that Tatum gave him. So funny. Like,
I think
hits it perfect.
it's got to stay 8 Mile. It is. I don't really like to refer to guys as fast PP and shit like what people are doing on Twitter or that. I think that is his Twitter handle, but I don't really feel comfortable calling another guy fast PP. I don't know.
A little strange. But I do want to touch on the Raptors again because I mean this team. I mean, there's a lot wrong with them. Obviously, they've had a couple guys leave, namely Marcus Gasol, and they've taken Baines. And Baines is good. He's a good guy. He's a good center. But he's I think Marcus Gasol is more valuable to that team, and I think Pascal's heavily regressed. I think the fact that they're in Tampa is bad. I mean, they're not getting older. I mean, they're not getting younger. They're always going to get older, and Larry's getting up there. That's why I said they weren't going to make the playoffs, and they're not doing too hot right now. And I don't think they're going to make it. I'll stand by that take. I mean, I said it in the beginning. I'll stay with it till the end. They're not going to make the playoffs. And all you guys that said they were, what's going on? What's the problem?
No, I think you might have a point now. Like when your best player Siakam only has one move in his arsenal that everyone knows is coming, they have no other way to attack. And like I asked this off air, did Siakam re-sign to a max this year? I know he had signed one. I don't know if it kicks in this year. That's my main question.
I think it's next year, but he did sign it this year.
So Kyle Lowry's getting older. They just re-signed Van Vliet. Should the Raptors just outright try to blow it up this year?
Real quick on
Siakam while you can.
Siakam signed the 4-year, $130 million in 2019, so it must be kicking in this year. He signed it last October.
I thought he signed it this past offseason.
This is Pascal Siakam agrees to 4-year, $130 million extension. That was posted by Forbes magazine on October 19, 2019. So that is.
I think you might be getting him confused with Bam Adebayo. He just signed one after Tatum.
Maybe that might have been it. I think.
Yeah,
you're right.
Bam did sign one.
I think.
But Pascal,
right,
man,
still.
I think it's a little too early though to blow it up because I mean they've been using a different rotation every night. I think they're just trying to figure out what's working. Give it another 10 games. If they're still 5 and 15, yeah, okay, blow it up. I mean, it's a waste of a season already. So,
I mean, just because he signed last year, I don't know if it kicks in this year. Let me check. Oh no, yeah, it kicks in. He's making 29 this year. So yeah, that's still tradable. 29 million. Not saying you should, but
I mean,
Pascal. I feel like we're talking trash about Pascal. Like, if this guy was on the Celtics, I don't think anybody in this Skype session would be talking about getting rid of him or anything. Like,
I think
the guy's gonna figure it out.
He's someone who I would just be infuriated to watch on a nightly basis.
Yeah. Like, it would suck if he's the best player on your team. I agree. Like,
I think that's what I'm getting at.
Similar to even a player like Ben Simmons, I feel like he will be a frustrating favorite player on your team. Like, just saying, if we were Sixers fans, like over the past couple of years, like the guy is frustrating to be a fan of.
I think
can we start talking about what?
I was gonna add on Pascal. I think that whole Pascal and that whole Raptors team, I feel like a lot of it you can just contribute to like a Kawhi Leonard effect almost. Kawhi Leonard came in and won the championship, and then you see that obviously Kawhi goes off to LA and Pascal signs that fat contract, and all of a sudden you look at him, oh wait, maybe Pascal wasn't worth that. Maybe he's a second guy, but he's not the first guy. He's not playing like it. He's starting the bubble. I mean, how many times do you see him drive to the basket, spin around, do a bunch of little circles, and then get blocked or turn over the ball, do something stupid, and you're seeing that it's coming out, and it's kind of. It sucks for the Raptors because you look at that and you're like, wow, you know what? He's not the guy that they thought that he was, and they signed him to that contract. That's awful.
I still think he's the guy they signed, and I still think he's going to be very good. We're on to Miami. Miami Heat are 3-3 right now. The Boston Celtics are facing them tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
7:00 tip-off.
Bam Adebayo shared something today with the media, and he said in the Miami Heat locker room, there's a big-ass poster on the wall of him blocking Jayson Tatum in the playoffs last year. I thought that was pretty cool. Like, they put it in the Miami locker room. Like, I don't know. I respect it. It is what it is. They took it to us that series. I'm still not happy.
Yeah, they do not look the same as they do in the bubble, and that's what my biggest point is about them last year. They benefit from the bubble more than any other team in the league. And I'll go even one further. I think someone like Tyler Hero benefits from the bubble.
All four of us have been preaching that on this podcast, and it just gets upsetting still to this day. That series will never leave me. Similar to the fact that we never got to see Gordon Hayward like what he would have been in Boston healthy. Like we never get to see what would have happened if the Boston Celtics and the Lakers faced each other in the finals. I just feel like we would have been a little bit better than the punching bag that Miami turned into after they destroyed us in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's just my take. And it really sucks that we will never find out what would have happened. Could LeBron mess us up in the playoffs? Yeah, he probably could have, but I at least wanted to see it instead of us getting our asses kicked by Jimmy Butler and the boys.
We wouldn't have stood a chance, I don't think.
You don't think so?
Put this year's Celtics team into there by that last year's playoffs, I mean like 2 months ago, I think they blow the doors off the Heat. I think
100%.
they beat them in 5.
You guys are saying right now's team, like, what are we,
last year's Heat
5
team.
games? You already think it's better than last year's team, no matter
100%.
what?
Yep.
Like,
100%.
is it better because Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown supposedly took a big leap, or what? Do you think getting Gordon Hayward out of the lineup was a benefit to this team? Because a lot of people are saying that.
Yeah, I have a few points for that. I think I'm Gordon Hayward's on my mind. If he was still on the team, then Jaylen Brown's not getting 28 points a game or however many points he's getting.
I think these are all like little things that we smashed on before the season started. I feel as though we talked in depth like how subtraction is like a positive thing on this team.
Less is
like
more. Less is more.
Exactly. And we're seeing it through these games that these guys can go out and get their 30 points a game. Like they're doing it on a daily, and like they're so young. Like these guys don't need time off like LeBron does, like AD does. These dudes are young, and they're gonna get time off this year. Like it might be frustrating when these guys are sitting out on like little Wednesday game or something, but it is what it is. This is gonna be a fun season to watch. Like, I'm super excited for Jaylen Brown. Like, this guy deserves everything that comes his way. This guy works so hard in the off season. So,
I want to touch on that.
His training regimen. You see his training regimen, the boxing with his grandfather. It's crazy.
He goes hard, bro. So that's what it is. It's like his talent got him into the league, but nobody predicted him to be a number 3 pick. I will still never, ever, ever forget when Brad Stevens, I still have the video on my phone. I was 10 feet away from Brad Stevens when he announced the pick, and we were at TD Garden. It was like a season ticket holder thing, and everybody booed him when they announced Jaylen Brown. And after that, the Celtics never had a draft party the next year for Jayson Tatum's draft. That's how bad, that's how embarrassed, the Celtics were.
I don't even think they booed Brown in hindsight. I think there was so much buzz about a trade.
It was a Chris Dunn trade because there was talk that Chicago wanted Chris Dunn. They were going to try and move Chris Dunn for Jimmy. And then I think the Timberwolves took him, and then that's how Jimmy got on Minnesota. So it was basically Jimmy. It was either Jimmy or Jimmy.
If my memory serves me correct, everybody that was what?
The Jimmy Butler to Minnesota was the Tatum draft.
Yes, but Chris Dunn came from Brown's draft, didn't he? And then he was a big part of that Chicago.
Right. Okay. Right. Yeah.
I mean, what draft was Jaylen Brown?
He was 16. Tatum was 17.
So
Simmons and Ingram.
Number 1 pick was Ben Simmons, Ingram, and then Jaylen Brown, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Everybody in Boston wanted Jamal Murray. That's why everybody was pissed off.
I remember I wanted Buddy Hield. I was clamoring.
I remember Hield was being tossed around Murray, but the big one was the Chris Dunn trade because it was rumored Chicago really wanted Chris Dunn. And that's why you saw the year later he got traded to Minnesota. And Chris Dunn was a huge part of that. I mean, obviously they got Zach LaVine too.
What does that have to do with the Celtics draft?
At the end of the day, he got booed. The other day, there was booing going on, so he had to turn some. He had to turn some heads.
Right, and then this guy is in an interview, and this was not broadcast in the Garden, and he's like, "Yo, I'm ready to go to war for this city." The same city that's booing him over there. Whatever. We ready.
I mean-
I love Jaylen Brown, and he embraces it. I talked to Jaylen Brown at least 5 times before about that night, and I told him, because you know why I told him? Because GRD stands for gasoline runs deep, and I was pouring gasoline on the fire, so all you guys could thank me for Jaylen's success. Because I told him, I said, yo, Jaylen, I love you, whatever, but on that draft night, I was booing too. I didn't know who the hell you were. I don't watch college basketball, and even if I did watch college basketball, I would have never thought that this guy could turn into the guy he did. And if one of you guys or any analyst could think that they knew that he was going to turn into the player he is, you're stupid. All credit to the Boston Celtics front office, though. They knew. They knew that this kid was going to be who he is.
They didn't know. I got 2 points, one off that. I think the big thing with Brown is I like the pick, but I didn't think he would be this good. I'll be honest. I liked him as a player, but I didn't think he'd be a second guy. I thought he'd be a third or fourth guy. But he's been very good. My second point, though, I want to go back to that Miami thing we talked about earlier.
And Jake, I don't think that we've seen this guy peak yet either. That's the crazy part. Keep going.
It's a crazy deal with those two. We'll get to that in a second, but I do want to touch back on this team versus last year's Miami Heat team and going into that finals. I think this team could give the Lakers a run for their money last year, and I think the biggest thing you got to think about is that not only is Tatum and Brown, have they taken that next step and they've been so much better. You've gotten, obviously, Jeff Teague, he's been decent. Pritchard's been decent, but I think the biggest thing is Tristan Thompson. I mean, that was the one thing we were missing last year. We got eaten by fans. Tristan Thompson, how many times have you seen this year already where he's gotten a rebound on an offensive rebound and he puts it back up? We never saw that last year. Or a putback dunk. You never saw it. And I think that's the big thing and why they're succeeding.
He reminds me of Jared Sullinger, bro. He ain't anything special yet.
Nah.
Tristan Thompson has not won me over. That's all I'm saying. I was happy for him to come here. What?
He's an NBA champion.
Bro, he's like a glorified Jared Sullinger. That's all he is to me.
How many points did Tristan Thompson score last night?
Does that matter?
Doesn't matter.
Does that matter?
I mean, I wanted to rebound. You could score 0 points.
20 minutes, he had 0 points. So, I mean, I kind of got to agree with GRD on this one. But
how many rebounds?
I'm not here to score points.
And I'm saying this, but I'm not a hater when I say this. I'm just saying, like, yo, I respect you, Tristan Thompson. I respect what you've already done. But I kind of gassed you up in my head. And this is what I do sometimes, and it kind of ruins me. But I put this guy automatically scoring, like, 18 points a game and getting 12 boards, you know? No, you didn't do that?
No, I think you did that to yourself. He's never averaged 18.
I'm not saying average. I'm saying getting 18 points. I'm not talking about average. I'm talking about, like, good games. He should have 18 and 12.
Tuesday, I think he can easily.
Yeah, like, just good games. 18 and 12 should be a solid night for that guy. That's all I'm saying. And there are going to be games where he scores 3 points and gets 13 rebounds. I will take that too. All I'm saying is, like, I kind of thought he would be a little bit more dominant than he's been. And then again, he's coming off the little injury, and we'll see what happens. The season is still very, very long. And Jake is saying all this stuff about the Lakers. Yo, don't sleep on the Lakers. Once they figure out those kinks, all their offseason moves so far, they look like shit. But once they figure it out, they're going to be a very good team this year. You got to think that. Plus, trade deadline, they're going to get all these ring-chasing. I can't swear anymore on this podcast. I'm keeping it clean over here, boys.
Yeah, before we move on to the next topic, though, the Lakers, they're going to be good this year, obviously. I mean, they have LeBron and AD. They're going to be very good this year. But I think the biggest thing is that last year I looked at that Celtics team heading into that, possibly going to the finals, and I'm like, even if we beat this Heat team, we're not beating LA. This year, I look at that, and at this rate, I look at it, I'm like, you know, we don't even have Kemba back, and we're this good. I think we could do it. We would give them at least a run for their money, a good Game 7 at least.
I want to talk about Kemba first. Like, I have a really hard, because I was thinking about this yesterday, I have a really hard time thinking that whenever he does come back, that he just can be outright just, like, terrible, just like a shell of himself. Like, I think this injury is more going to affect him as career longevity more than it's going to affect him in the 2021 season, if that makes any sense. Like, this is just going to be lingering towards the end of his career. I don't think it's going to be sort of that immediate effect. In fact, I think we're going to be surprised when he just comes back and he's a better third option scorer than many other teams around the league. But
bro, something about his injury and the way that the Boston Celtics are handling it, something tells me this guy might not even play basketball until March. And I know I said that on Twitter and stuff.
Yeah.
Dude, but I literally feel like Boston's not gonna rush him back, and the way that they're wording things, like they're not saying anything about it. Like they're saying he will resume basketball opera, whatever. I don't care what they're saying, but it just it's rubbing me the wrong way. That's all I'm saying. And I don't know. I don't think that we need him until March anyway, so don't rush him back if he doesn't need to come. If he comes back and he plays like he did in the bubble, I'll be pretty devastated because I feel as though he's a guy that could win us playoff games if he's on his shit. But him in the bubble, god damn, I'd rather put my fat ass out running the point.
I think the big thing with him in the bubble is that I think that knee injury is the same knee injury that he had before the bubble. And I don't think it ever healed. And, he had those 3 months off. I understand that. But I think the smart thing would be, you know what? He's not ready. Just let it go. He just let it go. Let him go for the bubble. That would have been the smart thing to do. I mean, obviously right now, I feel like we're paying for that. He's going to be out, so, I mean, it's supposed to be coming up in a week or two, another update. But, Corey, I 100% agree with you. I don't know if we'll see him till March. And, honestly, I'm okay with that. Save him because honestly, right now, we don't need him. I mean, would I love to have him on the court? Of course. I'm wearing his jersey right now. I love the guy. But, we don't need him right now. And I'd rather see him healthy for the playoffs than see him come in right now, be healthy, and then be, run down for the playoffs.
Yeah, this year you have depth in your backcourt that you didn't have last year, which kind of goes to that supports Jake's point about last year's playoff Celtics team. But I think you can afford to kind of be a little more cautious with Kemba, especially with how Pritchard's playing. And when the playoffs do come around and Kemba's supposedly back, I yet to assume Pritchard's minutes go down, but it's all about getting deeper right now. And you maybe assume they're going to be like 8 or 9 men deep come playoff time, and maybe Pritchard's still getting minutes there, or maybe he kind of hits that rookie plateau, or maybe he's still what he is right now, and he'll be a serviceable factor in the playoffs. But right now, I think overall you can afford to have a bit of a looser leash with Kemba Walker in his recovery.
Yeah, I want Kemba back, don't get me wrong, but I'm a little nervous on what it's going to do, like how it might disrupt the rotation with the team.
You can't say that.
This isn't Kyrie Irving.
Say that about any other player, but I don't think you could say that about Kemba. Kemba's literally the unsung leader of this locker room, everything. Like Jayson Tatum, this is his team, but I feel like Kemba is the leader.
Yeah, I get that, but I kind of feel like it's almost like the Gordon Hayward situation where it's like he's a good player, and it's just when he comes back, how is that going to disrupt the Jays, and then also with that,
raise you this point,
ever been a number 3 option on a team?
Okay, I'll counter with this. Does Brad Stevens love Kemba Walker as much as he loved Gordon Hayward?
No. Gordon Hayward was like his baby almost.
Exactly.
The way he cradled. I mean, and that's no disrespect to Gordon Hayward or Stevens at all. But it was what it was. I mean, that's how it was. I mean, with Gordon Hayward, he was like the guy that put. I feel bad saying this, but Gordon Hayward kind of put Stevens on the map. Think about those Butler runs. After that, everybody started paying attention to Brad Stevens and Butler, and I fully think that if Gordon and Brad didn't come together, I don't know if Gordon would be in the league, and I don't think Brad would be in the league either. They both kind of helped each other out, and that was one thing. You saw is I'll let yours, you itch my back. That's one thing I kind of saw from that. And I think with Kemba Walker, he's honestly at the point now in his career where he's played for such a crappy franchise as Charlotte and was the number 1 option there and didn't win, that he's at the point now where he's like, I don't care if I'm the 3rd, 4th, 5th guy. I just want to win. I'm sick of losing.
At age 31, yeah.
Exactly. He just wants to ring now. He's over the stats. I mean, he's past his prime. He's not going to get any better. He's 31 and a half. He's not getting any better. I'm sorry.
It's a good feeling to even have this conversation, to be honest. There are other teams out there that don't even know who their point guard is, and we're over here saying we could just let our all-star point guard just take another 2 months off. We're all set. It's just cool to be a Boston Celtics fan in that sense. You just got to remember, Kemba's the guy 2 years ago putting up 60 points a night and everything. Don't forget that Kemba Walker. Last year on the Celtics, I don't think we saw him at his peak. I feel like the whole season he kind of just he just rode the I don't know how to even describe his first season in Boston. He made the All-Star team, but he didn't do anything that he did in Charlotte, in my opinion.
First half he did. I think he was very strong his first half.
But he didn't have any of those big games though. because we didn't need him, you know.
No, because exactly, you don't need him to. And I think that Kemba Walker as a third option on it is a championship team.
And I can't remember him hitting any of those like FU 3-pointers either, like at end of games to like not necessarily buzzer beaters, but just like one that you need like your team to get over the Yeah. I like he's known for those. I feel as though last year, like I don't really recall too many of them. I don't know.
No.
Moving on.
Kemba's he's gonna be great whenever he comes back, whether that's in March, playoffs, a couple weeks, whenever it's gonna be. No, I'm not worried about it.
Rest.
The last topic we have to talk about is this Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown duo because, I mean, they've been lighting it up. I mean, you look at this, you look at the stats. I mean, there have been some crazy little I guess you call it records or stats that they hold in the league right now, and they're looking like a top 3, top 4 duo right now. I mean, I don't know what you guys think about that, but I look at this and I'm like, it's like fire and ice. When one has none of them have had a bad night, quote unquote, but when one of them isn't like doing pretty good or like they're average, the other one absolutely blows it out of the water and it makes up for it. I mean, you saw last night Tatum had like 38 points midway through the third quarter. If they weren't blowing up the Raptors, I guarantee he would have had at least 50. And then Brown, he was just doing okay, but it wasn't noticeable because Brown Brown was doing good and Tatum was doing like so much better.
Yeah, total most field goals in the NBA. Number 1, Jaylen Brown at 86. Number 2, Jayson Tatum at 77. Most total points, Brown is at number 2 with 215, and Tatum's at number 4 with 210. Tatum is 22. Jaylen Brown is 24.
I'm not a numbers guy, but numbers don't lie. We got the top 2 best players in the whole league.
I'm not gonna tell you no.
That's a bold take.
I'm not gonna tell you no.
I like it though,
bro. All I'm going to say exactly what I just said 3 minutes ago. It's really fun to be a Boston Celtics fan. I'm really excited for this season. Like, having these 2 unselfish players on our team, and I do say the term unselfish. I know at the end of games, I'm still not happy with the way that things go sometimes with who has the ball. All I'm going to say is we have 2 budding superstars on one team, both locked in on great contracts. I'm really excited about the future. Yeah. And whoever falls in line behind those 2, let's get it. Whether it's Pritchard, whether it's Kemba, whether it's Marcus Smart. I'm not even worried about Marcus Smart. I'll take this one. Everybody's going to come at my neck for this one. We don't need Marcus Smart. I don't care what anybody says. I said it right there. He's a good leader in the locker room, this, blah, blah, blah. Too inconsistent for my liking. The door's right there if you need to. That's a very tradable contract. Celtics Nation wants to kill me right now.
I think you're warming up to my take, which I said earlier before the season that Marcus Smart is tradable. If you need to trade him, you can trade him.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying I just think you don't win a championship without Marcus Smart.
I will say this.
Who you're trading for.
Like, this is not like, after like these 6-7 games that we played, like me saying like, Marcus isn't who he was before. I just think Marcus is who Marcus was before, and I feel as though he's never going to the next level. He was a number 6 pick. I don't think he's ever going to see an all-star game. It's just, it is what it is. He's a good glue guy. Like, you do need players like him on your roster. He's the longest tenured Boston Celtic right now. But I'm just saying it how it is. Like, it's Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown. After that, it's just whoever wants to fall in line after that. If the phone's ringing, I'm down to move anybody if you could get somebody that's going to contribute.
You want to talk about falling in line, though? Like, I think I said this on the pod a few shows ago, but by the season's end, our starting center has to be Robert Williams.
Bro,
in my opinion, if he buys in,
it's crazy that we talked so far for like 30-something minutes and we haven't even mentioned him. Like, he used to frustrate me when he would go into a game and like just get slapped around, pushed around. Yo, this year, I finally getting a little bit comfortable with that guy out there. And I'm like, yo, he brings energy, dude. And I don't know. And I'm over here just saying about an energy guy Smart that we could trade him and stuff. But yo, Robert Williams bringing that energy, I love it. And I can't wait to see this guy get a little bit better.
Yeah, it's like a Walmart brand Marcus Smart comes into the league as this just raw and freakishly athletic guy, and he just kind of buys into the grind and kind of gets molded into a center. Like I think we talked about it. Kyle said it's like big men take a little bit longer than wings and guards to develop not in just their NBA bodies, but to the style of play. And I think he's starting to do that.
A lot of people from down south take a little bit longer to develop too. Just saying, not all that smart.
I mean, it's a good point. I mean, big men do take a little bit longer to develop. I think the one thing with Rob Williams is that I think he's now being challenged, and I don't think he was being challenged in previous seasons. I mean, obviously you had Baines and Horford earlier in his career, but I think recently, I mean, what I mean by that is that, like, obviously he had Baines and Horford, right? And then, you have a guy like Tice. And
last
Tice,
year he didn't play at all because he was hurt.
And yeah, he's battling the injuries too. That's another point of it too. But the biggest thing now is that he has Tristan Thompson with him, and I think Thompson's actually challenging him and be like, dude, like, you can be good if you really, if you work for it, you can be good. And you've seen that a lot. I mean, how many times have you seen just make a hustle effort play, like, and get like an easy dunk? I mean, if he did that a couple times a night, he'd make such a huge impact on this team. I mean, I saw him get a block, run the floor, and then get an wide open easy dunk. That is the perfect play for him. That's
the amount of times he does that.
Yo, I like Robert Williams, bro. I think that might be my next jersey I get.
Well, I like if he can play like that. I like him a lot. But when he starts doing inconsistent crap and he gets injured, that's when I'm like, okay, dude, like, what are you doing?
Well, you can't get mad at him for that, but he doesn't really do inconsistent.
Yeah, but when he's doing the inconsistent stuff, that's what bothers me.
Bro, I see the steam coming out of his ears.
It's funny you say that. Before you guys give me hella shit for this, you know who Robert Williams low-key on the defensive end reminds me of?
Don't even say.
This is a throwback.
You say
All
right, I was about to hang up if you said something stupid.
Oh, you're going to hang up. On the defensive end, it's funny you say Steam. He reminds me of Greg Steamsma a little bit on the defensive end with those long-ass arms.
You're crazy,
Robert Williams
bro.
is good at basketball. What?
No, I'm saying just defensively. Steambag was a blocker of legend. I mean, that guy could block anything.
I forget what it was, but I'm pretty sure Tommy Heinsohn has like a legendary quote about Greg Steamsma. I forget what it is. Somebody got to look that up at one point.
I know he's got the Baines quote. That haunts me.
I'm pretty sure he like compared Greg Steamsma to like Bill Russell or some shit before. I'm not even kidding, but that was like, what was that, 2009 or some shit? I don't even know. Look that up.
I just Google it. Yep, that's what it is. Tommy Heinsohn compares Steamsma to Bill Russell.
What do you say?
It's a YouTube video. Here's a little thing. Shout out to Celtics Wire. Let's see. The kid has got the same thing as Russell, Heinsohn said. He gets out here, he cuts them off and makes them commit, and then he has a quickness that he gets up before it, and just before the ball is totally released, he finished. So that was
so at least he had.
I'll say this.
Yeah, he added some context to it, but he basically said that Steamsma was the next Bill Russell.
Yeah, I think
when in reality he had about the same amount of longevity to his career as Bill Walker.
I heard that name.
I think what number did he wear for the Celtics? Bill Walker. I think he was number 28. I forget.
Michael
I haven't heard that name in a while.
He got traded to the Knicks. I think.
Speaking of Tommy, though,
I think that just.
I want to show this up real quick. I mean, just because you're talking about Tommy. I mean, I couldn't help last night watching that Raptors game and seeing Aaron Baines and not thinking that Tommy Heinsohn quote where he was like, I saw Baines in the shower. And let me just tell you, he was all Western. Like, I just couldn't. Every time I saw Baines on the floor, he got the ball and made a play. I was like, always thought of that moment.
They should retire his jersey just for that, like, just for being that big.
That was such a funny quote. I remember watching it and like hearing that. I was like, what did Tommy just say?
I'm pretty sure that was a preseason game, right?
I believe it was, yes.
I think it was a preseason game.
You want to talk about retiring numbers? I think if they should stop doing that and just switch to hanging up the people's corpses at the top of the garden.
Oh, we can talk about. I mean, we can talk about this forever. I mean, there's only a handful of guys that actually deserve it. And let me just show this. KG's not one of them. I'll just say that.
Wait. Rewind. Did we say corpses?
Not one of them.
It's a joke. You know, you look up, you see Bill Russell and all of them staring down at you.
No,
you guys.
The Celtics should just do what like every football team does. Put the number and then the name, and then a handful of players like the Larry Birds and Bill Russell. Like those are the guys that numbers are actually retired.
What if they did like what they're doing with the banners, Reid, right now? But with the corpses, just hung them up behind the.
Stick them to the glass.
Guys are awful.
You guys are cooked.
That's crazy.
Red Owlback is shaking his damn head right now while he's smoking a cigar. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode number 20. Don't interrupt me. Sponsored by Ride the Wave Media. Babs, you owe me a lot of money for saying that. You haven't paid me in a long time. I'm letting you go with the Spike Twins. Either way, I appreciate you guys. Rate, subscribe, review. Jake is the best host of all time.
Music licensing reimagined.